This sprint was working more on tech feasibility and focusing more on a programmatic way of surfacing structural comparisons between the HTML of different navigation bars on various websites. And so I worked with Josh on coming up with a HTML difference comparison metric using a node module called JQgram to basically turn HTML string into a sort of nested JSON object and trying to compare each of the tags at different nested levels, and essentially sort of doing a Levenshtein edit distance on simplified HTML, which was the other aspect of the technical feasibility, which was just simplifying and sort of removing a lot of the excess attributes that come with source code from professional websites. And so I ran this metric on 10 different websites, BuzzFeed, Spotify, Twitter, YouTube, the New York Times, Etsy, Kayak, Pinterest, GitHub, and Instagram to get a comparison between them. And the metric we came up with essentially returns a value between 0 and 1, where 1 means complete similarity and 0 means really intense difference. And initial results sort of showed that obviously sometimes just given the length or the nested structure yields really, really strong differences between websites. But this again was just sort of an initial test, and then using these results, applying just a really simple Kmeans clustering algorithm on that, just to even see what sorts of websites have some strong structural similarities. And so with different centroids of 0.03 similarity, 0.06, and 0.09. And so that was more of the technical feasibility aspect of the sprint, was really just, trying to come up with my own metric for DOM comparison, and then testing that on some real websites and just sort of seeing what kinds of results we get and how useful those can be. And then the other aspect of the sprint was also just iterating the design of what a front-facing end user tool would really be, in sort of both what we can provide in terms that's helpful in terms of HTML structure, like grouping navigation bars, for example, by what their nested HTML structure is in terms of similarities, or also by combining a couple of other metrics that that I sort of came up with, whether that's just lines of code, the depth of the tree that is that element, the number of tags that are used, for example, and sort of be able to group them by level of complexity, whether it's minimal, medium, or or very difficult. And then also just starting to think more about how experts and real people can also be of, obviously a huge resource to contributing more subjective viewpoints that, again, may not be programmatically possible or feasible really to surface. So things that are maybe more about what certain structures or divs or types of tags might be good for, whether something is a new trend and actually applied in professional websites, or if it's something that's out of date, and the such. So those will be things that I'm going to be thinking about more next quarter, as well as sort of iterating what we can surface from HTML and CSS more programmatically.